Farm has been in the news recently as some new artefacts have come to light following an ongoing excavation on the site. These new findings are helping us to reconfigure our entire understanding of indigenous Britons during the Bronze Age, and are currently rewriting the pages of our history books as we speak. Growing up, you may have been taught about the primitive lifestyles of ancient hunter-gatherers who were met with the sudden realisation of ordered civilization and society brought onto our shores by the Romans 2,000 years ago. However, over the last few decades, archaeologists have been finding out more and more evidence that the Bronze Age inhabitants of the British Isles were much more advanced than we previously gave them credit for. Situated in Cambridgeshire near Peterborough, lays a two-part site which consists of Must Farm and its neighbouring historic site, Flag Fen. I have talked about Flag Fen in a previous video, to which I have linked in the description below, but to recap, Flag Fen is an area of significant historical importance due to the discovery of a large network of wooden palisade walls, which effectively functioned as dams to divert water around the salty marshland and harness the tides. This 3,500-year-old site comprises of over 60,000 timbers arranged to form causeways, enclosures and dams. And its neighbour, Must Farm, features a large wooden platform which would have been used as a man-made island where timber roundhouses were built on top of, similar to the raised tribal villages in places such as the Amazon and the Bahamas. People lived out their lives here, with a wealthy knowledge and appreciation for the power of the tides that swept in and out through the Fenlands. They built dugout canoes to navigate the labyrinth of waterways. They set up ingenious fish traps to catch their food, and they even built a series of dryland enclosures connected by causeways to breed and farm goats, sheep and cows. Flag Fen and Must Farm together are considered to be possibly the most advanced man-made structure from the early Bronze Age in Britain as far as we are currently aware. Along with other monolithic projects such as the Grey Orme mines of Llandudno in Wales and the development of the Salisbury Plain monuments. Must Farm first captured experts' attention in 1999 after a quarry was dug in the immediate landscape, and a number of aged wooden posts were found which looked somewhat out of place, almost as if they were put there intentionally. Going through the local record archives, some early finds were recorded in 1969, such as 2 swords. However, it wasn't until 2011 and 2012 where 8 dugout canoes were found. These turned out to date to the Bronze Age, having been remarkably preserved in the peat-rich soils of the Fenlands. Further testing on these canoes suggested that the ages of the boat spanned over a period of 1,000 years or more. This confirmed that the Bronze Age site may have been in use throughout the entirety of this time, and possibly longer. A Roman road was later discovered running through Flag Fen, leading towards the walled town of Durabrive, a Roman town located right next to modern-day Peterborough. So, this Roman road may indicate that this site has been in near constant use from as early as 1750 BC to as late as the 4th century AD, or even possibly later. Interestingly, even Saxon swords were found on this site, which may even suggest that this site was continued to be in use even after the Roman army left, and the Saxons who claimed the countryside were continuing to use this as a religious site. By 2016, further excavations on the site confirmed at least 2 roundhouses, which had both been built upon wooden platforms such as makeshift islands. Curiously, these dwellings were found as if they were flat-packed, suggesting that they had both fallen in on themselves. Further studying found that the timbers were charred, so the roundhouses may have been burnt down and subsequently abandoned, left to be slowly covered up by the silty mud in the Fenland marshes for 3,000 years. After the findings of the initial digs were published in 2016, the archaeologists estimated that about half of the full Bronze Age site at Must Farm had already been lost to modern day quarrying. But what had survived has completely changed our understanding of the capabilities of Bronze Age people in Britain. A plethora of artefacts were raised from the ground, including swords, wheels, fish traps, spears, cutlery, jewellery, animal bones, and even pots still containing food from almost 3,000 years ago. Due to the fire damage covering most of the site, It is believed that Must Farm was abandoned in around 800 BC due to a sudden fire, possibly caused on accident or deliberately by a malicious neighbouring tribe who had also mastered the maze of marshland surrounding the fens. Must Farm itself has now been reburied to help preserve it now that the excavation project has been completed, as the wooden structures are very fragile. As such, there is no public access for this site. Most of the artefacts are currently on display at the Flag Fen Archaeology Park, and as a visitor myself I can highly recommend it. Other artefacts have been given to the Peterborough Museum to be displayed for future exhibitions. If you have already been or indeed plan to go to the Flag Fen Archaeology Park, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know about your experience. But for now, thanks for watching.